PNC Unfiltered back today with another banger.
Yes, sir.
We're
It's the
we're here to check out a video of Sam Seder on Jubilee. I thought it was great, and I really thought it illustrated the issue of the leftist worldview. This is like one of the preeminent leftist debaters, on the left side of the aisle, and this guy gets destroyed by regular everyday people that just go in there and ask him common sense questions. So I think this will be a fun watch. Carson hasn't seen this before, so we're
yeah.
gonna
I
get some
don't think I'm very
reactions.
familiar with this fool, so we'll see what's up with it.
Oh, you're gonna see what's up with this. My boy Rattlesnake TV. We're just gonna watch his reaction. Hopefully, we don't get copyright striked if we watch his reaction.
Majority of time, America's
We're
been.
gonna go back a little bit.
There's a little known way to sell
Well,
literally
There's an ad.
thousands of books on Amazon every month without being an author. In fact, there's a set and forget system developed by my friend.
I don't know if
subscribe,
it's
and we've
live or not.
accepted the offer. But
Self-publishing doesn't have
You
to
don't
be
see it?
a lonely road. Hi,
Don't
I'm
know.
Peter. I made over $4.5 million on Amazon.
Where
You're
does
not
it
seeing
say live? Should it say live on like the circle?
Maybe. Hold up.
Oh yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna
live.
look
We're
up
live.
our-
We're good. We're good. Shoot.
Okay, nice. Here we go. We're rocking it now.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious
So real quick, just so you guys can see
Okay.
this right here, the claim at the top is, and of course it blocks it, dude. I love that.
fundamentalist
Can't even
aspect.
read it.
Are you an atheist?
Ah!
beautiful to see.
Do touch on
do
the
think I've seen
religious
part of this
fundamentalist
video.
aspect?
Yeah.
Are you an
Unless you're a billionaire, you know what? I don't even care about his freaking claim. They talk about something else. Let's go.
atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats,
Okay.
is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality from your view is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality, it's a preference.
What's
So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
well, I have a foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist
Which is what? Just wait. Terrible. Just
vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist? Utilitarian?
I don't really
Okay, it's
bother
okay.
myself.
Okay. So he didn't define himself as a consequentialist or utilitarian. He was asking for the ontology, so the grounding for his morality structure, right? So every worldview has an ontology. It's the basis for why you believe what you believe. And this is the whole point. Like, this is one of the bigger things here. Leftism has no objective ontology to it. So that's why everyone talks about moral relativism or subjective morality, and like why he called it a preference, because there's no absolute good or morality that he is structuring his beliefs around. He said something about human flourishing. The most amount of human flourishing for the most amount of people is what is good to him. Now,
Yeah, it's like
there's
a fourth grader.
right. But like, dude, there's a really big, or there was a really big debate. So my guy William Lane Craig debated Sam Harris, and Sam Harris is like a neuroscientist or a neurobiologist, He's like a brain guy. So he knows a lot about the brain, and he was debating if Christianity was true or not. And Sam Harris is one of the four horsemen of new atheism, and he's not necessarily an intellectual giant, we could say. He comes across eloquent, but as soon as Craig pressed him on his ontology, it went downhill. So Sam Harris wrote a book about this exact thing called The Moral Landscape. Okay. And what he was trying to do was define the ontology of his moral structure, which was exactly what Sam Seder is saying, which is the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people. Sam Harris described it as maximal well-being, or like maximizing well-being and minimizing suffering. And this was a landscape. So he basically created like a graph, right? And so you can imagine that it's almost like you know the I forgot the term for it, but x squared. When you see the graph for x squared, it's a u. Just imagine it like that. Okay, so there's peaks and there's valleys for the moral, or not the moral, but the wellness and the well-being of people. And this seemed pretty good to like all the atheists, I suppose, when they read it. No one had any huge issues with it, but Craig brought up a really obvious issue with it, which is that Sam Harris, in that same book that he created this moral landscape, which is basically about maximizing well-being, minimizing suffering, he made the admission on like one of the last pages of the book that if it were possible that psychopaths and saints could cohabitate peaks and valleys of the well-being spectrum, then it's no longer a morality structure, it's a well-being landscape. So it's completely separate from morality if psychopaths and saints can cohabitate in the same spot. And they can. It's been proven that they can. So the best, that is honestly what I've heard is the most compelling argument for a well-being kind of landscape for morality. And again, it's grounded in atheism, which means, there's no grounding. But that's the whole idea. Sam Harris had the best idea of any atheist for how to ground morality, and it was a well-being landscape, which is basically if you feel good or not.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case for a lot of Democrats or liberals, if you want to call them that, is whenever they get struck with these kinds of questions, I think they really just start bullshitting. Like they don't know how to answer it because the answer is obviously moral relativity. They just don't know how to.
I just don't like it. I just don't like when you're meeting gays. But really, I'm gonna be honest. I think Sam Seder's got something else going on. But let's just see where else this takes us. He's gonna finish off. I like the guy he's talking to right now.
Maybe he's a covert.
With being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And for some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society...
Real quick, though, he just defined, like he was saying, like, laws are basically like our morality structure. And then he said, we convened. Did he say convened? I think he said the word convene. That is the definition of a human convention. A human convention is not objective. It's people come together and agree on something, regardless of the external world.
Yeah. I don't know if he is objective in this sense.
Yeah, I mean,
it's he's bullshitting. He doesn't. He's literally coming up with these, like thinking about and like just coming up with random bullshit as he asks these questions because he doesn't have that foundation. He doesn't know what to reflect back on. You know what I mean?
And just you got to think like that brings up the question. Do you think that like atheists and like leftists know that there's no logic in their worldview?
I think they like to think they are, but I don't think they ever press themselves enough to find out that they're wrong.
Yeah, I guess my view is that like it's emotionally satisfying to them. And I think we underestimate how much our emotions kind of like play into our day-to-day thoughts. Right. Like our subconscious takes up like 90%, I think it is, of our brain power a day. So like people talk about how you only use 10% of your brain. You might only actively use maybe 10 or 15% of your brain at a time. But from my understanding, your subconscious brain is using the rest of it. So it's still being used. It's just not consciously. And the rest of that is background, non-conscious. Like you're not consciously thinking about it. And that's what emotions are. I mean, there's other stuff going on, but that's essentially what emotions are. Like,
yeah, that's
it comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights. You would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
morally right under your
not
view.
Morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay,
here.
so
as you can see here, Sam Seder is very, very uncomfortable with the ethical debate. And this is actually a huge problem for him because he's poo-pooing the religious fundamentalists, which just to him means Christians who would like to see their country governed in accordance with Christian ethics. And the reason why this is a big problem for him is because when he makes normative claims and moral claims, remember, normative claims just being what people ought to do. So in this case, that people shouldn't vote for Trump, and the moral claim being that Trump is bad. And when he dismisses religion like this, and in particular in this case Christianity, he must now be able to contend with these normative and moral arguments. And from the secular perspective, it is a very challenging thing to do, particularly if you're not so well versed on these ethical arguments as Sam Seder appears not to be. So it's a little bit long to get into in this video, but ultimately what his worldview has to boil down to is some form of nihilism and preferences. There is no such thing as objective good or bad. We kind of just make the rules as we go. Now watch Eliezer demonstrate exactly the flaws in this worldview, whilst for some reason the others start raising their flags.
Eliezer, let's go.
Before we get there, guys, don't forget to quickly smash that like button.
My boy
Help me out
Rattlesnake
with
TV,
these
check him out.
algorithms. And
Cool
also,
guy.
if you're not subscribed, you want to join the community, feel free to do so.
Here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off
I
of.
believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates, you have a reproductive dead end, so two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem, I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society is
Should implement duties to prevent.
Okay, so do you see how just a simple garden path, simple 2-question, setup, and he fell for it. Like it's not like it's like a trap. It's like he's trying to catch him in a crab trap. It's like that is obvious, logical trains of thought. Like, so okay, he said, well, I don't see a reason why gay people should be married other than it feels good. And then he said, well, maybe they're born that way. And then he said, well, are pedophiles born that way? And he said, probably. He said, okay, so should we allow pedophiles to do what they want to do? And he said, well, no, I don't think so. Okay, so what's the difference? Right. And again, you could make the argument that, oh, it's consensual. They're going to get into that. Here we go.
From acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than.
Okay, so you're okay with a
children.
45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest.
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has also determined that it's not beneficial.
Right. There's duties and obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about freedom and exercising what you want.
Guys, I'd like to take a quick minute to tell you about the sponsor of today's video.
Do you see how like Sam is saying like the right things, but he's not understanding that it's coming from like where it's actually coming from, which is Christian values. Just look.
Beneficial.
Right. There's duties and obligations. Incest.
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has also determined that it's not beneficial.
Right. There's duties. And
right. So incest is harmful to society. Okay. So, like, I'm just like, okay. Yeah. You could say the same thing about gay marriage. You could say gay marriage lowers the birth rate.
Yeah. The thing is, I think he's just, as a moral relative, he's just trying to say what sounds good at every question, and he's just completely unaware of how his logic is falling apart after every single question. Like, it's
like, dude, this is
something that you see this all the time on the left.
This is like one of the worst outings I've seen on the 20v1 though. Like, this is brutal stuff.
Yeah, he just I'm gonna watch the whole video now.
Yeah, let's just do one more clip, dude. This next clip is like the one that I thought you weren't going to agree with. You know how I mentioned before we watched this, there's one thing, I'm not sure if you're going to agree with it or not, at least where I'm going to take it. So we're about to hop in.
He's inviting himself to get schooled, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Here we go.
Massive 40%.
Besides, it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what?
One has a corner on.
Yes.
And so I can see the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism.
So I actually think that the world order needs to be thrown away completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative. What we're seeing right now is
And
just
congratulations.
Yeah, and thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a culture of death. This is the most suicidal generation ever. We have millions of children dying by abortion. People aren't even reproducing. We don't even have like a.
Should we mandate people reproduce?
No, I don't think we need to mandate. We can just stop them from killing their kids.
You want to outlaw abortion?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, we have a fundamental disagreement on this, and my claim was that if you voted for Trump, it would be to your benefit if you want to outlaw abortion.
I think it would benefit everyone.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that women should have the right to choose.
I think that it would benefit everyone to bring back the family unit, to stop having women just thrown into the workforce.
Maybe we shouldn't allow women to choose to divorce unless their husbands say it's okay.
I mean, I don't really believe in divorce in general.
Let's go.
Sure.
All right. I mean, this I think though reinforces my point that if you are
But it would be better for society. It would be better for everybody in society. And same with xenophobic what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
Xenophobic nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
Do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture based on European and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White Christian.
It's rooted in European identity.
White. So your argument is
that has been the dominant culture.
Just to be clear,
and we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
Your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity of America.
For the majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot.
Oh, he said the word. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if I disagree with a whole lot there, to be honest.
He said the Jew catchphrase, dog. Fucking melting pot. Okay, everyone.
Well, we don't need to get into the Jew aspect of this.
Quick quiz. Who created the term melting pot? I don't actually know his name, but it was a Jew in the 20th century. It was a Jew in the 20th century. They created the term melting pot. And it was a way to dilute the ethnic strength of Western European Americans. It's as simple as that. Why do you think all the people that say melting pot hate white people? This guy's a Jew. This guy's a Jew. If you didn't know, Sam Cedars a freaking Jew.
I don't think everybody that does hates white people. I mean, I think we were kind of taught in high school that term. I think a lot of people just use that term because that's what they were taught, and doesn't mean they hate white people.
Yeah, you can be ignorant or you hate white people. I mean, you're either at the top of the power structure and you hate white people and Christians, or you're just a cog in the machine and they're using you for their ends. But either way, that's why this guy rubs me the wrong way. It's either he's stupid, actually dumb, or actually, is he just dumb?
I think he might just be dumb, dog. I don't understand how he's made such. I mean, maybe he talks smooth and people like his voice or something. And he looks professional, so he's kind of leaned on that a bit. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't say anything that's thought provoking. And his answers are not based in logic. It's real, like you were saying. It's a hard watch for sure. This guy's getting blasted.
Dude, he's struggling against people half his age. This is embarrassing. But just to cap this off, that's my girl right there. If you're out there, I forgot your name. I think it's Sarah. Sarah, hit me up. You're a cutie.
Sarah, you don't want him, dog. You want me right here, dog. I promise you.
Sarah, you want me, dog. Don't tell her about the business, dog.
Bro, she wants me. She wants me. I'm the man for you. I'll take you to church every Sunday.
But no, if we're being real, Christian nationalism is the future of America. I'm slowly not identifying as a conservative anymore and identifying a little bit more as just far right, because I've seen a lot of conservatives be like milk toast on all the important issues that actually matter.
Mm.
I'm starting to actually believe in this whole controlled opposition idea that, I don't want to toss out names, but like the Daily Wire, for example.
Mm.
I mean,
who's the face of that company again?
we got, I guess it's Ben Shapiro, but Jeremy Boring as well.
And what what religion is Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, he's a Jew, dog. You make the connection this time. There you go. See, guys, he's getting there. It's just taking him a long time.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I just wanted to hear you say because I knew.
Okay, so wait, why do they fire Candace Owens? Why do they fire Candace Owens?
She was saying some pretty crazy stuff. She loved them Palestinians over there, dog.
Okay,
she loved them Palestinians.
Why?
I don't think she agreed with. I don't think she thought that Israel shouldn't have a right to its homeland or like shouldn't be a state or anything. But I think she was honestly. I don't think she should have lost her job over all that shit. But I mean, if the people at the top of the organization that you work for, that's a political talking point kind of organization, a media organization, and they're Jewish at the top. I mean, it's an independent company. You make those decisions, you take those risks, knowing that those people at the top who are your bosses could probably take offense to it, and they could shut you off. It's like the same with anything. You know what I mean? I don't think it's
no. I mean, yeah, that's all good and dandy and everything. It's a private company. It makes sense. They can make whatever decisions they want. But again, the fact that they did fire her over disagreeing on the one issue that they'll fire you over, apparently, is kind of weird. Why is that the issue they'll fire you over?
Well, it's like the same reason that if you work for a liberal news, let me make a point. Let me make a point. If you work for a liberal news organization, who the top people in that liberal news organization are BLM black people, they love BLM, and then you go out there and you start saying that BLM sucks, they're funneling all this money, they're robbing people, they might just kick you off the show for that. That's what happened.
We've already talked about this before. Like Democrats don't support like debates, so any sort of disagreement with the owners is going to get you fired in a Democrat company. But
with probably a lot more. But
the conservatives are generally more okay with open discourse. But apparently, this whole Israel issue is too much for the Daily Wire. But there's a bigger one, dude. Jeremy Boring just tweeted something out yesterday talking about how it was like one of the worst days in his whole life because of rampant anti-Semitism. You know what he was referring to? He was referring to Candace Owens on Theo Vaughn's podcast and the dude that went on Joe Rogan and talked about Mossad for like 10 minutes.
Oh, shit. What was she talking about?
That was like one of the worst days he's ever experienced because of the rampant anti-Semitism that isn't being censored.
That's tough.
That's the CEO. He's the CEO of Daily Wire.
I feel like he's just not a true conservative, and if he's not allowing the free speech, I mean, that would be my take with the whole Candace Owens situation. I don't think they should have kicked her out. I think they're showing some liberal tendencies almost by doing that. You know what I mean?
Maybe the thing is,
I think their moral framework isn't that strong.
So think about when the Daily Wire really grew. The Daily Wire grew in prominence around like Trump's first presidency and Biden's presidency. That was during the same time that everything was getting censored online, and they weren't censored like at all. But like all these other people that are like far right people were getting censored. It's just weird to me, dude. Like they were super successful, were never censored. People on the far right were all censored. Richard Spencer, Nick Fuentes, Gavin McInnes, Milo Yiannopoulos, whoever you want to say, they were all censored into the ground. But like kind of like the milquetoast, like as conservative as you can get without being far right is perfectly fine. I don't like it, dude.
Do you think it would have made more sense if they just banned everybody who talked about liking Trump? That's half the country. They couldn't have gone that far. You know what I mean? Like they obviously, these, liberal news organizations and social media companies, they obviously have gripes with, conservative values and the things that we say. But there's only so far they can go before it becomes obvious what they're doing is completely nuts. Like to silence half the country, they could probably get away with like silencing like the 5% on the very far end of the other side. But I bet you if they felt like they could and they'd get away with it, they would have just, censored all conservative voices. But
well, that's basically what controlled opposition is.
There.
Yeah, but that's like basically what controlled opposition is. Like, you allow a voice, but it's like the only voice that they can listen to. It's like, so you can choose between like Fox and the Daily Wire and the Blaze, but like no far right people. But on the left, you can listen to like people that want to kill white people like all the time, or they want to like institute communism. That's the far left version. They have that everywhere. But on the right, it's like your best shot at like being like listening to someone that's far right is like, the Daily Wire. That's the whole point. Like, they're trying to subconsciously change everyone's views by saying that this is as far right as you can go. This is your far right person, Ben Shapiro. He's not far right. He's talked about this in speeches. He gets attacked by far rightists because he's so pro-Israel. He's more pro-Israel than pro-America. Like, of course.
Right. I mean, it's all slander when it comes down to it. They want to. I don't think they actually believe that Ben Shapiro is the far right, obviously. I think they know that. I think it's more of a slander campaign just to tie him in with other people that has even less of a, if you want to say, approval with the general population. You know what I mean? Like, the kind of views that a lot of views that you hold about, Jewish people and what they've done throughout history aren't super popular. You know what I mean? So that's why they try to align them with them as a slander. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's anything too deep going on there. But
everyone in the comments, educate my boy Carson on the Jews. We'll talk to you guys soon.